Hey, so welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a recap of Insatiable Season 1, Episode 8, Wieners and Losers. Okay, so if you remember the last episode, we find out that Barnard has this illegitimate child that Eddie Mae doesn't know about. Armstrong does. They come to some type of agreement that disqualifies Magnolia, so Patty actually won the contest. But of course, when he went to go tell her, she had already left with Christian. So the episode picks up with her and Christian in some skanky hotel. I'm sorry, not even a hotel, a motel. And she decides to lose her virginity in some Fleabag motel. And she, after it was all said and done, she tells him that she loves him. And he said, "Oh, that was fun." After that whole situation with Christian, she grabs her phone. Of course, she's up, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I left everything for him, and it was just fun." So she finally returned. She finally went through her phone and saw that Armstrong was trying to get in contact with her to let her know that she won and that Magnolia had been disqualified. And so she finally sees in the text he tells her, and so she calls him. And then we flash to Pastor Mike's office where Dixie and Barnard is there with the crown and sash. And so Dixie walks in and, I just dabbed my hair and it might be too high and I flattened it so the crown will fit. And Barnard was like, I'm responsible for you now, and I just think that I don't think that pageants are a good idea because, basically he said that she was a few cards short of a full deck, basically. And she was like, "Are you saying I'm crazy?" And he really said it. He said, "Well, that's okay, because most people think I am. My mom is taking me to every doctor there is, and they tell me that I'm on the spectrum, and I have over-focused ADD and something else." And Barnard was like, "My family's normal, so I don't know what any of that means." She's like, "It just means that I'm over-focused. It just means that if it's revenge, then it's revenge. If it's a guy, it's a guy. If it's a crown, then it's a crown." And so she's about to reach for the crown, and of course Barb Armstrong and Patty walks in with Pastor Mike. And of course he's like, "What the hell is she doing here?" Pastor Mike was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke too soon. It turns out that she did, when I heard that she left town, I was unsure, but she came back to claim the crown." And so, of course, now that she has the crown and the sash, and she's taking photos with everybody, and you even got Dixie in the photos trying to snatch the crown off her head. Eventually, Pastor Mike had, I don't know, it was Pastor Mike or Bob Barnard, had to carry her out of the office because she was just so out of control. And so now they flash to a week, 2 weeks ahead. So she's been Miss Magic Jesus, and I guess doing all the appearances in the charity and all this kind of stuff. And so they're at the Wiener Taco. Her and Bob Armstrong, and he's saying that, this is going to have to be your last Wiener Taco for a while because you got to tighten your belt for regionals. And, he's basically telling her what all they're going to need to do, and it was going to cost about $5,000, and that's where sponsors come in. And he said that, and that's when this huge guy in the Wiener costume walks out and says, "Oh, join us for our grand opening." It's Choi dressed in a freaking Wiener costume, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Apparently his family owned the Boozy Spit, and so they sold it and bought the Wiener Taco, and so they're supposed to be having this grand opening. I think they're going to have a truck in this whole thing, and so now she's trying to convince them to sponsor her for the regionals. I guess Miss American Lady pageant. So we're gonna see how that works out. Detroit decided to sponsor her for the pageant, and she, of course, rushed home to tell her mom. And she was like, she let her know, "Oh, Mrs. Joy's gonna sponsor me." And her mom was like, "Oh, we both have good news." And Patty was like, "Well," she said, "Oh, my pregnancy test came up negative." Okay. And so that's when Patty realized, oh shit, she was a week or two late. And so she sits down with her mom, and they have, to do the pregnancy test, and they're waiting for the results. And so they're talking, and she told her what had happened, and she tried to reassure her that, nobody's first time is the way they envisioned it. And then the response, and then the results came back, and it says she's pregnant. I'm thinking that's for most likely a false positive, but we just have to go with it for now. So Patty and her mom talked about it some more, and Patty's mom revealed that when she found out that she was pregnant with Patty, that her initial thought was to give her up for adoption. And she said that, you know, at the time, you know, abortion was just out of the question for her, and she thought that adoption would be the best thing. And so Patty was talking to her. She said, well, what made you change your mind? She said, well, I, you know, made the mistake of telling asking the nurse if I could hold you, you know, before they took you away, and, you know, the rest is history. And she said that, so you regret doing it? So you regret keeping me? And she said, not because of me, for you. Because sometimes I think that had I given you up, you could have had a different or better life. And Patty was like, well, you know, if you had, then I wouldn't be the person that I am. And so they embraced. I mean, it was an emotional moment. And so she asked her mom what she thought that she should do. And she was like, theoretically, I think that you should have an abortion. But logically, I think that you should keep the child. But at the end of the day, you know, I don't have the answer for you. And sometimes I wish you did have a father in your life. And they made the mistake of telling, she made the mistake of telling her to talk to Bob. So we flash to Bob, and Bob is getting a massage. You know, at this point, he still hasn't seen or spoke with Coralee. And he's, you know, trying to relax and get his massage. His phone rings. It's an unknown number. And he finds out that his father collapsed. He had a heart attack. And so he races to the hospital, and that's when you see Coralee again for the first time. So it's been like, what, 4 episodes? She's been MIA 3 or 4 episodes. So she, you know, she's there. And he was like, you know, I'm surprised to see you. And he said, well, you know, she said, well, I'm still listed as your father's emergency contact. And, you know, no matter what happens between you and I, I'm still your wife. And so, of course, at that moment, that's when his phone rings, and it's Patty. And initially, she wanted them to meet. And of course, he said, I can't. I have my own emergency I'm dealing with right now. My dad's in the hospital. And so she was like, oh, well, you know what? Just deal with that, and I'll talk to you later. And he, you know, kind of tortured her like, well, you know, just go on and tell me now, because if you don't, I'm going to be worried about it. And so she just brought it out. I'm pregnant. And at first he thought it was their son Briggs. He was like, oh my God, is it Briggs? She said, no, it's Chris. He said, no, it's Christian. She said, I just really need to know what to do. I don't, you know, my pageant career, my life, my school, all this kind of things, all this stuff, you know, is now up in the air. And he was like, yeah, Patty, but I'm also a man, and I don't have the right to tell you what to do with your body. And that's when the doctor walks up, and he hangs the phone up. The doctor ends up telling Bob and Coralee that his father had a heart attack, and he's going to have triple bypass. So he wanted to talk to Bob alone. And so they had so crazy. So he was like, you know, the last time I was in the hospital is when I had a vasectomy. And the most difficult part about that is having a man shave my balls. And so, of course, you know, Bob is sitting there like, oh, okay, Dad. So he eventually, you know, they have a heart-to-heart. And he eventually admits to Bob why, you know, their relationship was so strained. And he said, you know, I was always jealous of you and your mother's relationship. You guys, I guess, you know, it's one of those situations where you have, you know, they get married, and for a time the man is the center of attention, and then the children come, and it's not so much that he gets pushed to the side, it's just that the children are dependent. They are solely dependent on their parents, so it takes up a lot of time. And then he eventually, you know, realized that him and his mom, Bob, and, you know, his mom had a lot more in common, and he was basically just jealous of their closeness and their relationship. And he was like, he felt like his mom, that his wife was the best thing that ever happened to him. And he said that, so, you know, don't lose the best thing that ever happened to you, Coralee. He said, you need to fight for, basically fight for your marriage. And he was like, you know, Dad, I'm trying. And he was like, try harder. So that was a nice little moment. Because the last time you saw his dad, he was, you know, obviously getting on him after the whole accusations about the molestation and all that kind of craziness. So that was really a sweet moment that they had. Why does these moments always have to come when one person is on their deathbed, damn near? That's crazy. Patty's still going through it, and so she's in the bathroom at the school. And who walks out? Nonnie. And Nonnie walked, you know, she could tell they've been friends forever, so she could tell something's going on with Patty. And Patty eventually, she said, oh, I thought you didn't want to talk to me anymore after, you know, the confession. And Nonnie was like, you know, I have D now, but, you know, having a girlfriend is not the same as having the best friend, so what's going on? And so she, you know, told her that she thinks she's pregnant. Now, at this point, I was thinking any moment now, we're going to see Dixie's munchkin ass tied to somewhere. It just happened to be in the bathroom, and she going to pop out in the most inopportune moment. But the next scene, you see Patty in Bob Armstrong's office, and he'd already got some pamphlets for her, and she told him that she had decided to have an abortion. And so he's like, well, oh, okay, you've already decided. I thought we were going to talk about it. And she's like, it just seems like the best thing to do. And he said, well, you're only 17, and so you have to have parental consent. And so she was like, well, I really don't want to put my mother in that position. And he said, when do you turn 18? She's like, oh, in a month. And she's like, I just don't think Patty was like, I don't think it's a good idea to wait. And he's like, well, if I petition the court to waive the parental consent, it could take even longer. And so, you know, he basically walked her out, and he, you know, all they can say is, you know, we wish each other the best, because, you know, his father, he's still dealing with his father and whole pregnancy. And so she walks out, and he bumps into who? Bob Barnard. Bob Barnard is picking out wallpaper. And of course, Bob Armstrong is like, what the hell are you doing here? He said, oh, you don't know? He's like, no, what? Yeah, I resigned from the DA's office, and your father basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Okay, Daddy Armstrong, like, what the hell? I can't imagine he doesn't know that Bob Armstrong and Bob Barnard are not besties. But at the same time, he is a businessman, so we're gonna see the shenanigans that ensue with them sharing an office space. In Patty's room, and Nonnie's there, you know, trying to comfort her. You know, she's still going over what she's going to do, and she's trying to figure out how she's going to ask her mother to sign off on this abortion. And she asked Nonnie if she, you know, initially Nonnie was being completely cool, like, you know, no, you know, it's all good, we're good. And she was like, oh, you know, well, that's good, because I don't want to be alone tonight, and I want to know if you stay over. And she was good right up until the point where Patty hugged her, and she realized she's not okay. And I'm glad that she had the maturity to understand, you know, what was going on. And she basically was like, you know what, I'll see you at the grand opening tomorrow. And so we go to Armstrong house, and Bob is cooking Coralee's favorite dinner, and he had the masseuse set up the table, and he's just trying to put, you know, plan this romantic event. And so she came over just expecting to sit down for them to talk. And the masseuse, I think his name was Shane. When they were, he was still in the room, and he's like, you know what, I'm practicing to be a life coach. He said, and so I'm wondering, you know, I think the best thing is for brutal honesty. He basically trying to coach them to eventually Bob Armstrong said, just leave, get out, Shane. So he ends up leaving, and Coralee was like, you know what, he might have a point. So she grabbed a bottle of I don't know if that was it was some brown liquor and 2 glasses, and she was like, okay, basically brutal honesty. And so she started asking him questions about Stella Rose, and why her, and when did it happen, when did it end, what was so different about her. And he was basically, you know, she saw me, you know, the things that he likes to do as far as the pageants and that side of him. And she was like, I see you. She said, no, you know, I see what, you know, the way you roll your eyes, and, you know, you think I'm ridiculous. And she said, hey, did you ever love her? He said at one point, he said, do you ever love her more than me? He said, never. No. She said, you know, it takes he said, no, I don't think that you're ridiculous. I think that you're evolved. You know, it takes a strong man to take a step back and let a woman shine. And that's what you did for me, and that's what you've done for, you know, that's what you've done for me ever since we've met each other. And that's, you know, that's why, one of the reasons why I love you. And he started talking. It was funny because, you know, the conversation was interesting, but she started asking him about what Was she good in bed? Was Stella Rose good in bed? And the kind of stuff that he liked. He's like, oh, she likes like soft BDSM and what did you say? It's BDSM and some bondage and breath play. And Coralee's like, what the fuck is breath play? And so they took a shot. Never really. So at this point, we don't know if he actually explained what that was. What the hell is breath play? I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds like made up shit. But in the end, you know, they came together on the kitchen floor and probably on the kitchen counter too. So it looks like they're on their way to a reconciliation. I stand corrected. So, you know, they're at the hospital the next day, and his father, you know, he came through the surgery. He's doing okay. And he is such an asshole. Bob was like, thanks, Dad. You know, I took your advice and thank you, da da da. And then he says to Coralee, the father says to Coralee, well, you know, I'm really surprised. I thought that you wanted more of a guy, a man or something. And so, of course, that set Bob Armstrong. He said, you're the only person I know that can come through something like this and still be an asshole. And then he said, why would you hire Bob Barnard behind my back? He said, it was a business move, and I didn't want to have to deal with your temper tantrums. And I'm like, oh, wow. So, you know, Coralee ended up having to usher him out of the room because he was getting upset. And, of course, what I was thinking is that his father was going to get all worked up and have a heart attack and die on the table, but in the hospital bed. But, no, she got him out of the room. And he basically, she said something, and he said, yeah, I know that you do, because why would you go to him when you left? Why would you go to him of all the people in the world? Why would you go to Bob Barnard? She was like, well, I don't, you know, because we're friends. And he was like, oh my God, did you sleep with him? And the way she said no, I was like, oh my God, did she sleep with him? But then she was like, no, I didn't sleep with Bob Barnard. And he said, okay, well, did you sleep with somebody else? And she got quiet. He's like, oh my gosh, like, who was it? It was Shane, the masseuse. I was like, girl, Coralee. So she was like, well, you slept with somebody and I slept with somebody, and so now we're even. He said, no, I slept with Stella Rose 20 years ago. You slept with Shane, what, 20 minutes ago? And so he got a text from Patty saying she wanted to meet. And so that they needed to meet. She wanted to meet with him at Pastor Mike's office. And so he said, I have to go. And she was like, wait a minute, you can't just leave. And he was like, well, why not? You did. Coralee, girl, I was in your corner for a minute. Girl. Okay. I mean, Shane, though. I mean, I would have been surprised if it was Bob Barnard. I mean, I would have felt some kind of way. But Shane? I guess Shane is less of a threat to Bob Armstrong than Bob Barnard. I don't know. I'm just, you know, you guys let me know how you feel about that. I don't... Lord. Mm-hmm. So, Patty and Bob, they're in Pastor Mike's office, and he let her know the news. He found out that she was pregnant, and that he was going to disqualify her. And then, you know, of course, there was this whole thing, and going back and forth. Christian walks in, and she's like, "What the hell?" She's trying to figure out why you're here. He's because at this point he said he didn't know that she was pregnant. As he heard the conversation as he walked in, and so that's when he was like, "Oh, you're pregnant?" And he's like, "Oh, you know, we can be a family, and I love you, and da 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 da." And I guess that means I'm gonna have to skip military school. And she looked at him and she's like, "Are you using me?" Right, using his baby and this, you know, trying to fake a relationship with her to get out of going to military school. And so she ends up cramping, grabbing her stomach. I'm like, oh, is she having a miscarriage? But she gets to the hospital, because everybody's in the room. The nurse walks in. She said, oh, she has a chimera. And basically she was supposed to be a twin, but she absorbed her other twin, and something's going on with her, and she's going to have surgery to remove it. And so and so because she's not pregnant, it was a false positive, like I said. And so she's able to stay in the pageant. And so Bob Armstrong was like, well, you know, you got 20 minutes. You're 20 minutes late for the reopening of the Wiener Taco. So she gets dressed up. They get there, and they're getting her all situated to get, because they're unveiling this truck, the Wiener Taco truck. And so you hear Dixie like, I thought you told Pastor Mike that she was pregnant. Okay, sorry about that. My battery died. Okay, so Dixie is going off on Bob Barnard like, I thought you told Pastor Mike that she was pregnant. Why is she here? Da, 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 da. So he said, okay. Bob Barnard was like, I'm going to do some recon. So Bob Armstrong had gone into the bathroom, and they had kind of shuttled Patty outside so she could do the whole unveiling of the truck. And so while Bob Armstrong was in the bathroom, Bob Barnard walks in, and he's still trying to stick it to Bob Barnard. And so he was like, it was you that told Pastor Mike about the pregnancy. How did you even know about it? And he said, well, the walls are so thin. I heard your entire conversation. And he was like, you should really watch your attitude or your tone or something when you're talking to your boss. And he looked at him like, what? He said, yeah, your father says he's retiring, and he made me the senior attorney, which means that I'm going to be your boss. So he showed him a business card. Of course, Barnard's name was Hughes, and Bob Armstrong's name was real tiny. And so, of course, Bob Armstrong was like, what? I'm just sick of this. What did I ever do to you? You tried to come between my marriage with Coralee. Every time I turn around, you trying to sabotage sabotage Patty. And now, here you are. You're working in my, you're taking over for my dad and this stuff. What did I ever do to you? And he said, I don't really have a choice. It's a matter of survival. I'm almost broke. And Bob Armstrong said something. He said, well, maybe the better man won. And that's when Bob Armstrong punched the shit out of him. And so they get into this whole tussle in the bathroom. Okay, fast forward outside. You have Patty. She's on top of the truck, and she said a little speech, and they unveiled the truck, and everybody was clapping. Da, 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 da. Dixie, munching ass, climbs up on the truck, and she's trying to snatch the crown off of Patty's head. So they now getting into a tussle. And so it's like, oh my God, are they going to fall off this truck? And so they're tussling on top of this truck. The two Bobs in the bathroom going at it. Bob Armstrong shoved Barnard, and he pulls. It's like, oops. He pulls Bob Armstrong's toupee off. So now he sees that he's bald in the top, and he's like, "What? Just say something. What?" And so Barnard was like, "You're beautiful," and he walks over and kisses Bob Armstrong on the mouth. I'm like, huh? For why? What's going on? And he pushed Armstrong Barnard away and got snatched his toupee. It was like, are you just effing with me? Like, he just go Armstrong. He was like, no. He said, I'm in love with you. Barnard says Armstrong. He said, what? He said, yeah, I've been in love with you since we were 14, and that's why I pushed you away, and that's why I've basically been such an asshole to you all these years, because I've been in love with you and I can never admit what I really wanted. And so he ends up jumping on him again, and they end up kissing. So you fast forward outside. Patty and Dixie are still going at it. She ends up having to punch the shit out of Dixie. I remember in the previous episode, Dixie said that she had veneers because the orphanage that she grew up in, you obviously dental was not, so she had jacked up teeth. And so her mom had gotten her veneers. Patty punched the shit out of her. Those veneers came flying off. And it looked like she had freaking vampire teeth. Like, all the top here was sharp as shit. And so now they're tussling and tussling. She ends up biting Patty on the neck. There's blood coming out her neck. She ends up having to shove this girl off her. Dixie falls off the truck, and now she's laid out on the ground unconscious, and people are staring at Patty. That's my dang phone. Staring at Patty like she did something wrong when all she did was defend herself. And let me fast forward back, because Pastor Mike was sitting there staring at her with his eyes all big. Now, prior to her going outside, Pastor Mike said, we really need to talk about this. You need to get this thing out of you. And she like, what are you talking about? He said, well, I felt it when I laid hands on you, because he feels like when he lays hands on people, he's able to discern. He's able to tell when people are telling the truth, or like what kind of energy they have. And he said, when I laid hands on you before the baptism, I knew something was up, and I just feel like a darkness and it's an evil spirit. He said, you even said that you feel like you're a monster sometimes. Said you need to get this thing out of you. It's evil. And she just looked at him, and that's when they showed her outside. So now, after this whole situation, everybody's standing there staring at her like she was wrong for defending herself, even though she got blood coming down her damn neck because that lunatic bit her. And now Pastor's sitting there staring at her like, see, I told you. And now she has in her mind that she has this demon inside her. And so basically that's how this episode ended. So, oh my God. Okay. Yeah, so I can't wait to watch the next episode. So I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.